welcome to another episode of The Emerging Artist. Today I'm talking about something we all want, we all need, and we have a really interesting relationship with. If you haven't figured this out yet, I am talking about money. And I want to ask you, what do you think when you hear that word? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you cringe? Do you have an embodied reaction to it? Do you miss it? Do you think about that ABBA song? Do you think about that song from Cabaret? For me, I know as a singer, I do think about a lot of songs. I know the lyrics too. But anyway, whatever your reaction might be towards money, today I'm going to break down the different kind of mindsets associated with money and why it's so important that we talk about this as artists, because we do need it, and it's just a better way of kind of improving our relationship with it if we share and talk about it and just make it part of our process and part of our business, really. I'm also going to be talking about getting paid, getting your fees, the fees that you want, negotiating pay, negotiating holiday, contracting, and also, as a little bonus to the episode, I'm going to be discussing unpaid projects. And I look forward to hearing your feedback and your thoughts on this. So as always, you can find me on Instagram, or you can find me in the comments below on Spotify and on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here, and let's get started. It's taken me such a long time to understand and to figure out why money is such a taboo topic for artists and how much it has affected my own practice and my own process, as well as my own kind of career development. I started learning about finance and money about, I would say, 5 years ago, but for real, I'm so embarrassed to admit that before that, I was subscribing to the idea of the starving artist, not because I wanted to or not because it resonated with me, but because I couldn't see a way out of that, and I couldn't really think that there's another way, and there's a way of demonizing the relationship with money and how much of what you think about money and how you've been brought up, what lived experiences you have, is affecting the choices that you're making now. So first thing I wanted to reflect on is why it feels so uncomfortable to talk about money. And for that, you have to go back to what you were told growing up, maybe from your parents, from your environment, from your guardians, from school, maybe if you're from a different cultural background. You know, every culture has its own kind of relationship with money and its own kind of societal appreciation of money. And there's so many factors that play a really key role in that. And I began to understand how much of that I was holding in me, as well as, really feeling the challenges of COVID and feeling the challenges of cost of living crisis, and how we just didn't consider the arts to be an essential item. Something that was really hurtful and something that really hit hard when it came to kind of job opportunities and the value of that translated into money. So as I begin to unfold all these different strands in terms of my relationship with money, I kind of began to unpack that. And with that came the mindset around money and kind of the transactional approach when it comes to knowing your worth, valuing your work, and also putting a fee on your services. it was really hard to begin to understand my practice and my work as a business, as an artistic business. But let me tell you, it was really essential, and it was such a shift from that idea of the starving artist and this is how it is and that's the way, you have to go on about your life, to okay, let me understand and see what value I bring and how I can translate that value into an amount that really reflects not only the work that I've put in, my effort, but also the contribution I make. Because, in business and finances, you would always find this law of demand and offer. And that was a direct translation. So excuse me if that is not the term, but that the price is variable depending on how much demand there is for one product. So all of these elements have to be factored in. But the idea of putting a fee on your work, regardless, like having a daily fee in mind or having a project fee in mind, is so important, and it's so empowering to say, this is how much my work is worth. And be careful here because as artists, we usually associate ourselves with our work so much so that you can't distinguish it. So you're not saying this is how much I'm worth, you're saying this is how much my work and my time is worth. So all these complex issues have really kind of helped me, and the way I kind of understood and unpacked them have helped me shift my mindset around money. And my first challenge to you, or my first kind of homework for you, is to sit down and think about your daily fee if you haven't done so already. There are many kind of organizations that have recommended fees, like Equity, like ITC for performing artists, like Musicians Union for musicians. And I don't know, like they have a set minimum, but I don't know if that kind of resonates with you. You should have a fixed daily fee as a kind of baseline. And of course, you can review that as a project by project basis, but it's really important to kind of have an idea of what you feel comfortable with, given, everything that we talked about, plus your bills, plus the current climate, plus the industry, kind of, where the industry is. But having a daily fee, even in your head, is really helpful to start to become more comfortable in discussing money and letting people know, how they can work with you. And this comes, of course, with so many times that I've panicked, I've felt bad, I felt guilty, I felt really imposter when people came to me and they were like, oh, what is your fee? And I really used to dread that question. Sometimes I still do, but now I have built a system and a way of tackling that question. And first and foremost, as I mentioned before, I had to fix my mindset first in order to be able to answer that question and feel confident and comfortable around it. Because even if I don't know the number now, because, I said that I may have a daily fee, but depending on the project, on the role, on the circumstances, the fee can change. So really, most of the times it would be a bespoke quote. But nonetheless, I had to change my mindset around first, and then I had to find a way of communicating that with people. And changing the language around money is also really important because it's how you present yourself, is how you frame yourself, making sure that you write everything down, you respond in a written form, like preferably an email, or better yet, a contract or an agreement. And it might feel really uncomfortable and kind of wrong at first when you first are saying, this is my fee, and it's numbered that it's much higher than what you think or what you're used to. But you have to really work with that kind of pain point to get over it. And you do get over it, believe me. I want you to reflect on the last time somebody asked you, what's your rate, what's your fee? And you didn't know what to respond, and you took some days and you kind of panicked and we're obsessed with that idea. I'll give you a moment for that. I hope you got a moment to think about that moment. What? Anyway, too many moments. I want to move forward to a resolution and kind of offer you some ways of responding to that, the ways that it will help you feel more comfortable, more confident, but also will provide an open space for negotiation if you think this is the way to go. And I really think negotiation should be part of the game because you're building relationships. And unless it's somebody like you don't want to really work with and you just want them out of your way, in which case I understand and I'll put a really high fee and, just be done with it. But if you really want to build relationships and work with different people, I think that staying open is very, very important. So the first kind of thing that I would do is I would think about my fee long and hard, and I would maybe price a little bit higher than what I would want so that there is room for that. There's a buffer in case they want to negotiate you down and you're still left with a fee that you're comfortable with. So I'd put that in writing and I would say, thank you so much for offering me this opportunity, or I'm excited to work with you. I haven't closed my fee, which covers this and this and this. So I don't know if you want to put like travel, or make sure you put the holiday pay. It's included as a freelancer's. Don't do the mistakes of working just for the project, because you know why. We don't get holidays, we don't get rest, we get burnout. That aside, put everything in and and make it so that people come back to you. So I would put something like, I look forward to hearing your thoughts and, talk about the next steps in the process. So that gives people the opportunity to come back to you. And I don't know, from various answers that I've received is like, oh, thank you so much for sending this. I love how I'm just like reciting emails to you guys. I hope it's helpful though, because sometimes like this is what I was missing starting out, and even like longer into the process. I didn't have examples and I kind of didn't know how to navigate that space. So let me know if that's helpful. Anyway, back to the email chain. Maybe they say something, oh, this is really off budget for us. What can we do? Can you do this? And this is such a low amount that you don't feel comfortable with. So you can respond by saying, thank you so much for this offer. This is significantly, or this is, way below my minimum or my standard rate or whatever. I really want to work in this project with you, but I would feel more comfortable in the region of that, and put your amount plus. And here the plus is a really important bit. In negotiating, think about what else you can get out of that relationship as an exchange. So even if, for example, they have a low budget and you really hit your minimum fee, think about, can they cover travel expenses? Can they cover food? Can they give you some kind of services? If, for example, this is a venue, can they give you some free space for rehearsals? Can they give you some marketing? Can they give you some fundraising tips, advice, and that kind of stuff? So that's why I said, the pay and money and that part of the negotiation is really important. And I think there's a really big opportunity there for you to get more out of it and to feel that you really contribute, but people really contribute to your development as well. Small pause here to say thank you so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe and hit that like button because it tells me that you like what I do and I will keep doing it. Thank you so much. Back to the episode now. I want to talk about some red flags now because there's something really triggering about negotiating fees, and there's something about how we as artists handle that collectively that really makes me angry sometimes. And I feel, come on, people, we can do better than this. Now, I'm going to be talking about low fees and unpaid projects. And I understand, I recognize, and I empathize with people who, fellow artists who feel that they really need to get that unpaid project to build portfolio, and who really need to literally put foot on the table. And it's so hard to pass on even like a ridiculously low pay. But I'm going to share with you my thoughts on why we should not work for low pay and why we should really think twice before accepting unpaid projects. And I wanted to make that disclaimer because I have been in that position. I have done unpaid projects, numerous of them when I was starting out, and I have worked occasionally for a really low fee because I did not have any other chance. And I understood that I was hurting the industry at that point, but I just needed to pay my bills and do my thing. So I want to say that so that you don't feel bad if you really have to do this. But if you're kind of in another, if your circumstances have changed and you're kind of still in that space, I'm just offering maybe another way of thinking about it. And maybe a way for you to communicate to other artists, if you see them doing the same thing, let's talk about it. Let's see what makes you think that this, you don't have another choice and this is what you need to do. Yeah, I think that accepting a really, really, really low paid gig is so hurtful for you as a business, for your reputation as an artist, but also the industry as a whole. A prime example of that is I'm part of like many Facebook groups of session musicians and jazz musicians or whatever, and there's always somebody that posts a gig with a really low fee, and I'm talking like less than student rates fee, and everybody's like, hate comment, hate comment, hate comment. Like they're talking about, this is ridiculous, this is so low, this is low. And there will always be 2 to 3 people saying, I've DM'd you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there's at least 3 people who have applied for this gig. So the person offering thinks it's okay to do this. It's okay to continue to offer low fees. And then, businesses now know that, oh, this is the lowest they can go. So why am I offering a higher fee? And this is just such a negative cycle of bad choices, bad decisions, and then setting a bad standard overall. It's so hurtful for everybody to work for low fees. And it just, the only people that is good for is the businesses who profit more from our work. So I really need you to overcome the need to say yes to everything and to pass on, and not just pass on without saying anything. I'm taking a stance nowadays, and I make sure that the person offering the low fee knows what they're doing, and they know that this is unacceptable. And of course, I'm trying to remain polite, but I'm being really firm about this, and I'm trying to kind of be very, to be very specific as to how and why this is very hurtful. Time for you to think, if you were or if you are offered a low fee, how would you respond? knowing kind of the things that we have discussed in this episode already. I'll give you a moment. And now, my ultimate trigger warning. Oh, gets me so angry. I have loads of feelings around this topic, which is unpaid gigs. I did mention that I've done a fair bit of unpaid things when I was a student, when I was a recent graduate, to build my portfolio, and that was with other fellow students. But when you're a professional artist, when you make a living out of this, and when you want to have a prolific career, I think it's unacceptable to take on unpaid gigs from other businesses. And another disclaimer here, I don't mean that if a friend of mine comes to me and they're like, I have this passion project, I really want you in this, I want to work with you in this. And by the way, hugs and kisses to those who have done this. I love working with you. I love working with you. That is a different thing. That is like, that's a passion project. But if a professional comes to me and they're like, oh, we have this gig, it's not paid, but I'll put you exposure, right? I'll put you on the poster, I'll share on Instagram, whatever. I'm like, what? It's like 2025, we still haven't got a grip? Like, no. It's disrespectful. It's so unhelpful. It's so wrong. And it's pure exploitation. So I hope that you have moved on from like your student years and you're really thinking about what projects I take on for free, because working for free, there's something that doesn't match there. These two words cannot be in the same sentence. And I'm getting really angry now again. Anyway, I'm gonna take a couple of breaths, but unpaid projects in a professional setting are a no-no for a trillion reasons, and I bet you can think at least 5 of them. Yeah, go ahead, think about 5 of them. And if you see that, somebody accepts them and they're okay to go to a venue and perform for free for exposure, please say something about this, because holding these businesses accountable, holding these people accountable is the only way we have a chance of shifting that. Thank you so much for watching today's episode and for listening on Spotify. I got very angry at some point, but this is not the vibe. The vibe is that if you redefine your relationship with money and think about how you want to get paid as an artist and how you want to kind of develop your career and also grow your business, I think great things will happen to you. And there's nothing to be afraid of, there's nothing to worry about. It's just a skill and it's just a different perspective on things. So I would say to you, get good with numbers, write down everything, all the transactions, have them in writing, in contracts, in agreements, set your boundaries with people, and think about your daily fee and your kind of buffer lines, as we said, and really reflect on if you need to work for low fee and if you need to do unpaid gigs that are different from passion projects. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.